So we're coming to the end now, and we wanted to just say a little bit about the work that SRUK has been doing, in relation to research. So SRUK has 4 strategic aims. One is to increase awareness. The second is around empowering patients through information, education, and support. The third relates to advocating for improvements in the healthcare system. And the fourth, not last but not least, should I say, is that we fund research and we work collaboratively and we work with institutions and industry. And so we were joined in October 2024 by Dr. Ulla Tymoszuk. I got that right. And she's going to give us a whistle-stop tour, and it literally will be, of the work that actually SRUK has been doing since 2016.
Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. We're delighted to have you here. Sorry. Well, let's give a round of applause to all the amazing speakers. And to you as well for being here today with us. We're delighted to have you here, and thank you for staying until the last talk. So as Sue has mentioned, I have a PhD in epidemiology and public health. As an academic scientist, I studied the role of social relationships and how they impact health, so things like social support, loneliness, how they impact mental health, obesity, and other health outcomes. And I'm very proud to have joined SRUK as the head of research last October. As we've seen today, I guess the answer to this question is that yes, we are making progress in understanding systemic sclerosis. And this graph shows the number of scientific publications, scientific papers published in the last decades. And we can see that there's more and more publications with every year. And every publication holds a piece of a puzzle on understanding scleroderma. So how do we use this knowledge? And again, we've heard it today. This knowledge doesn't just sit in academic papers. We actually use it to inform the guidelines for management and treatment of systemic sclerosis. And are we funding enough research? So looking at the 2 largest funding bodies in the UK, the NIHR and the MRC, the 2 governmental research institutes, they gave 8 funding awards to systemic sclerosis projects between 2016 and 2021. And even though systemic sclerosis has made it into the top 30 most researched rare diseases, we're still not quite satisfied with that. And this is where the role of medical research charities comes into play. So in the UK, we're very lucky to have something called AMRC, Association of Medical Research Charities. And actually, this is an organization that brings together over 150 medical research charities. And we combined have funded more research than the NIHR and the MRC. So I think that's something to be very proud of. And indeed, we are part of the AMRC since 2016, and we funded 2.5 million in grants and research projects. So in that time, when you've seen in the graph before, where NIHR and the MRC gave out 8 research awards, we have actually given 20. SRUK has also developed partnerships with research councils, with other patient organizations such as the World Scleroderma Foundation and biotech companies, and we've leveraged $500,000 of external funding for research. So also as part of being an AMRC member, we were obliged to have a research strategy that was derived in a very robust process that involved consulting community, so the patients, speaking with other experts, clinical experts, scientists, to review the evidence base, to identify gaps in the knowledge, and together through a series of discussions to come up with our research strategy. And as part of that process, we have identified a typical patient journey and the barriers and challenges that most people diagnosed with systemic sclerosis go through. And by looking at that patient journey, we have distilled it to 4 research themes that we believe funding work in those research areas will help to improve lives of people living with scleroderma and Raynaud's. And those research areas are precision medicine, earlier detection, quality of life, and causes of scleroderma and Raynaud's. As Sue has mentioned, this is going to be a whistle-stop tour. We have funded over 25 research projects since 2016, and this is just going to be a selection of some projects within each research theme. So starting with early detection and diagnosis, we have funded 2 projects led by Professor Elisabetta Renzoni. Both of those projects focus on lung involvement in scleroderma. So in 2021, we funded a project which specifically looked at the use of AI, so artificial intelligence, which was mentioned today as well, to look at people's chest scans to better understand the pattern that's linked with worse outcomes in interstitial lung disease. And Professor Elisabetta Renzoni has used that knowledge from that first project and applied it further in another project that was funded 2 years later. And in that second project, she has rolled out this detection software to over 1,000 patients to help to predict disease progression, so to help to predict who are the patients at higher risk of more severe interstitial lung disease. So this project was really helpful in identifying those high-risk patients and also supporting better treatment decisions. Another project within early detection and diagnosis has been awarded to Dr. Sarah Tansley. This is a project that was awarded funding in the last grant call, and this project focuses on a group of patients, so up to 20% of people with systemic sclerosis don't currently test as positive on the standard autoantibodies. So they are so-called seronegative. And this group of patients tends to experience worse outcomes and is less understood clinically at the moment. So this project will use advanced lab tools and methodologies to help to discover these new antibodies and to help to personalize care and improve outcomes for this group of patients. And another project within early detection and diagnosis used routinely collected data to improve diagnosis. So it was a project led by Dr. John Pauling, who has used records from GP records of 20 million UK patients. And what he found was that people with scleroderma had a higher risk of cancer after their diagnosis, but not before. And this was a very important study that helped us to understand how important routine cancer screening is in our patient population. So moving on to precision medicine. This is a project led by Dr. Claire Payne, who works at the University of Liverpool and Alder Hey Children's Hospital. We've actually funded a few projects led by Dr. Claire Payne. She works in scleroderma and systemic sclerosis that affects children. We know that systemic sclerosis in particular is extremely rare in children, and because of that, it's poorly understood. And at the moment, most treatments are based on adult data and a lot of trial and error, which can lead to poorer outcomes in children. So in this project, Dr. Claire Payne has looked at systemic sclerosis in children very holistically. So she has connected the biological markers, the gene, the cell behavior, the antibodies together with the clinical outcomes, so what the doctors see about their patients in clinic. And by doing so, they've developed a way to group patients for tailored treatments. And this was a really important step towards more personalized medicine in juvenile systemic sclerosis. Another more recent project funded in the last grant call is led by Professor Maya Book at University of Manchester. And this project focuses on heart involvement in scleroderma. So Professor Maya Book will use MRI scans to spot early heart problems even before symptoms appear. And her project will also aim to test if current treatments help to reduce heart damage. And ultimately, this project aims to develop better guidelines for cardiac health care and treatment. And another example of a precision medicine project was led by Dr. Dinesh Khanna. This project focused on limited systemic sclerosis. And as we've heard before, even though sometimes there is a misconception that it's a milder form of systemic sclerosis, it isn't. It can still lead to serious complications and affect quality of life. And this project has developed a very comprehensive index to better understand outcomes of patients living with limited systemic sclerosis. And it in particular placed a lot of emphasis on the symptoms that patients find most bothersome. So things like gut issues, Raynaud's, and joint pain. And this tool will be used in clinical trials. I think it's already maybe has been used, and it will help for those trials, whenever they trial a new drug, to also measure things that matter most to the patients living with limited systemic sclerosis. And now on to quality of life projects. This project, led by Dr. Peter Worsley, was part of a SRUK EPSRC hackathon 5 years ago. This project has aimed to develop objective assessment methods of skin tissues in scleroderma, and the team has done it by testing the non-invasive devices that are available from other fields that can measure things like skin hydration, stiffness, and inflammation in people with systemic sclerosis. And what they found is that their device was indeed very successful at matching the scores, the clinical scores used typically in clinical practice. It was also deemed as pain-free by the patients. And interestingly, it was also able to detect signs of local skin inflammation, something that Tani mentioned in her presentation, that is linked to disease activity. And the hope here is that a device like this could lead to at-home monitoring solutions and help to provide better treatment decisions earlier on. Another quality of life project was led by Professor Peter Butler, and it was testing fat transfers, so injecting patients' own fat tissue into affected areas of the face, because as we know, facial fibrosis can be very debilitating, affect people's ability to eat, smile, speak. And this project has found that indeed the fat transfer was very successful. It was trialed in over 100 patients, and it improved their movement, comfort, and quality of life. And another related project was led by Professor Liz Walker, who also focused on the issues of that patients experience in terms of their oral and dental health, and how often clinicians feel unprepared to deal with them. So her team has developed resources for patients, doctors, dentists, and also promoted regular health checks in dental health for people living with scleroderma. And now moving on to causes of scleroderma and Raynaud's. So here I wanted to highlight two projects. Both of them focus on B cells. As we've heard throughout the day, they're really fundamental in driving the disease progression. And this project was was one of our earliest projects, led by Professor Rizgar Magid. He really did a deep dive on B cells, and this project has led to a lot of publications, a lot of future funding, and has really helped to lay the groundwork on targeted B cell therapies that were to come and that we now are seeing, as previous speakers have outlined. And another project that we have funded was part of a joint SRUK MRC clinical research fellowship training. It's been awarded to Dr. Nina Goldman, who's also focusing on the role of B cells, but specifically looking at its role in lung fibrosis. And as part of her clinical training, she's also going to investigate how B cells respond to the treatments that we currently have, so rituximab and tocilizumab, and essentially is hoping to improve that tailored approach to treatment. So moving on to today, we are very proud to partner up with World Scleroderma Foundation to fund two projects that will deal with gut and nutrition issues in scleroderma. As we've heard today, up to 90% of people experience GI issues, and it's an area that's very much understudied at the moment. So we would like to change that, and this year we'll be awarding 2 awards to projects researching GI issues in scleroderma. And in other news, we are currently analyzing results from our Raynaud survey. Over the winter months, we ran a Raynauds campaign and had a survey as part of it. And we were overwhelmed with the response. We got over 4,000 people taking part in the survey, and we're currently partnering up with universities of Bristol and Cambridge to analyze these results. We're also working on our UK-wide register of people living with scleroderma and Raynaud's, and we'll be reaching out to you soon regarding that. But essentially, with your participation and with your consent, we could keep you updated on research opportunities and connect you with studies that might be most relevant to you. So in the next few months, you'll hear from us asking for feedback on the registry and also asking if you're interested to join our Expert by Experience group, where you could help shape our priorities and help to influence both internal and external research projects. And now, since you're all here, we would love to hear from you about your experiences of the day and also speaking more broadly about your day-to-day experiences of scleroderma and Raynaud's. What areas would you like to see better understood? So as you've done before for Tani's talk, if you could scan the QR code, there will be a live poll and you can give your answers there. And if you need any help with setting up the poll on your phone, just raise your hand and someone from our team will come and help you. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so it's really interesting to see clearly a GI a trend appearing there. So that's something we hope to address with the current grant call as well. What else? Loves the CAR T-cell summary. That's great to know. Therapies, treatment, earlier diagnosis. Effect on partners and carers. Thank you for that point. Triggers. I'll give you just a few more minutes. I can see 10 more people are typing. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. We don't have time
for
any more questions.
Sorry.
But if you do have any thoughts, we do want your feedback after this event. We've got a form that people can fill in if you're not able to do it on the phone, because obviously we want to capture all of your feedback. I hope that you share with me that I think we've had a fascinating range of talks, quite diverse. And my hope is that you will take away some practical tools, but also a sense of hope and inspiration, because there is so much work taking place. I remember when I first came to SRUK, there were, say, maybe 4 or 5 major industry partners working in this. It has exploded over the last 8-9 years. And I think this is something we should really see as incredibly encouraging. I now want to do my thank yous, and I've written them down this time because always I forget somebody. First of all, I would love to thank our speakers who have so generously given their time and shared their knowledge with us. So a massive thank you to our speakers. I want to thank our sponsors, Boehringer Ingelheim, Bristol Myers Squibb, Johnson & Johnson and Zero Bio. That support is really important. It enables us to put on events like this and produce patient education materials. I'd like to acknowledge the support of Professor David Abrahams and his team, who have been busy working away on the International Scientific Workshop, but they've also supported us and helped us with some of the logistics and communications. But a massive thank you to Annabelle and the SRUK team for all the planning and promotion of the conference, which has meant that it's reached out and we've had a fantastic response, and it's been really great to see so many people here today. It's been really great to hear your stories. So my final thanks goes to you for coming along, to you for sharing your stories, and for the support that you've given SRUK since we established in 2016. The research that Ulla told you about, we would not have been able to do that without your support. So a massive thank you from me to you. Really, really important. Thank you very much. And a safe journey home. Thank you.